This is an original story written by me called Catch the Wind. Abruptly, I snapped into consciousness. I became acutely aware of how small of a space I was in. I needed to get out. It was my time. Instinctually, I began clawing at the walls of my prison, sharp bits crumbling away as light bled through the serrated rifts. Finally, my beak pierced the shell. With one final jab, I broke through. The brightness of the world blinded me, but I was free. The shock of my own existence sent me into a frantic state. Feeling cold and exposed, I flapped my winged arms and cried out for someone to save me. That's when I heard him, crying out beside me. Brother. He looked wet and feeble. Bits of his shell stuck to his torso. He too flapped his wings in desperation as we both called out to the same savior. Thrashing and shrieking desperately, we didn't notice the nest that we sat in was rocking dangerously upon the branch. It was then we felt a sudden rush of wind, then darkness, then a deep, abiding, maternal warmth blanketed my body. Brother's chirps became muffled and quickly lulled to silence. Mother. Her full size dwarfed the nest she had built for us, and she practically crushed us where we sat. Hush, she cooed. We hushed. Then we ate. Then she pruned and delicately fluffed our feathers, whistling softly. Then, as the sun set, she settled in gently between brother and I. We were quickly cradled to sleep. For many days it went on like this. The sun peeked over the horizon while brother and I chirped expectantly from our nest, as we did every morning. Mother brought us worms and berries and other delicious bits. Then, at dusk, we fell soundly asleep to the sound of Mother's gentle coos. It was a simple life. We were safe here. One day I looked at brother and noticed he was getting much bigger and stronger. That must mean I'm getting stronger too. Your wings are mighty strong, brother. One day you'll be bigger than Mother. I whistled and stretched out my wings, secretly hoping he would notice my budding muscles as well. He warbled mischievously and flaunted his strong bronze feathers in the sunlight. I should hope so, though I will always look bigger to you, as I'm the eldest. He cackled and shifted on the nest to peck at my beak. He knows I hate when he does that. So what? You came out a moment earlier than me. That hardly makes you older. I lunged at him to peck him back, but he flapped his wings and dodged my attack. I knew he would sense the irritation in my voice, and it would only fuel him. Sure, whatever you say, little brother, he warbled again, relishing in my exasperation. I was trying to give you a compliment, dipshit, I screeched, flapping furiously. I felt a subtle breeze lift my wings, and I felt an odd, weightless sensation. My rage turned to fright as I thought I might accidentally fall from the nest. Faintly, I thought I heard a voice. It called to me, summoning me. But just as soon as it came, it went away. I forced my wings down to my sides. Hush, Mother said as she descended effortlessly into the nest. He's the one who needs to hush, Brother murmured under the familiar rush of wind. Stop antagonizing him, Mother sighed and motioned for us to open her mouths to eat. But, Brother started. Hush now, Mother cooed. We hushed. After dinner, we sat quietly in the nest, and I thought about that strange voice I had heard earlier. The sensation of the wind beneath my wings. Had I almost caught the wind? Mother told us that one day we'd have to fly away from this home. That seemed impossible to me. I never want to leave the nest, or Mother. Even brother, though he was annoying, I didn't want to leave him either. I thought to myself indignantly. Still, the impression remained in my mind. I peered over the edge of the nest. We were so high up in the tree that I could only see the first few branches below us. The rest disappeared into a dark abyss of haze. Plus, I thought to myself, why would I ever want to leave? I looked up at the full orb of the moon, just as the strong gust of wind whirled through the branches. I snuggled closer to Mother. Suddenly, my eyes felt very heavy, and the warmth of her embrace lulled me into a heavy, dreamless sleep. A number of days pass and the weather warms up. Now, the sun beams down directly into our nest every morning. I had hardly opened my eyes when my brother screeched next to me. Ouch! Get your damn foot off my wing. Ah, sorry, brother, I say, jerking my foot away. He rifled his feathers and glared at me once more before shifting in the nest and falling back asleep. Bleary-eyed, I looked around the nest. Either he and I had gotten much bigger, or the nest had shrunk in size almost overnight. I had decided this was amusing for after breakfast, and I was about to drift off again when a sharp voice cut through the silent morning. Hey, you there! At once I became fully awake. My eyes darted around frantically looking for the source of the noise. I had almost thought I dreamed it until my eyes fall into a branch a few feet away. There, perched on a thick, twisted branch, was the largest bird I had ever seen. My blood ran cold and I let out a scream, calling out for Mother. Save me, save me, save me! Hey, chill out, little man, he bellowed, thrashing his massive wings in agitation. I chilled out. Who are you? I asked, barely managing to swallow the lump of fear in my throat. Out of the corner of my eye, I still searched for Mother. She was nowhere in sight. His massive, sharp talons gripped the branch tentatively, and with superficial casualness, he spoke again. I came to ask when you two were going to be ready. Ready? I gulped. Ready for what? To be my lunch! He screeched and snapped his huge beak menacingly. I became unhinged. I started flapping my wings and howling like a madman. I hoped Mother would hear me. I prayed Brother would wake up. Oh God, somebody save me. The large bird let out a loud cackle, throwing his head back. He shifted expertly and delicately on the branch despite his enormous size. He glared at me with such large black eyes. They seemed to swallow any light that entered them. Relax, if I wanted to kill you, you would have never seen me coming, he said, narrowing his terrifying gaze to peer at me. I believed him. Fear gripped me like a noose. What? I asked, trying to sound less frightened, though I knew my childlike shrieking moments before had undoubtedly given me away. Yeah, I'm not here to eat you. I'm here to help you, he said, lazily plucking a leaf off a nearby branch. I don't need your help, I said, feigning courage. I could tell by the way he tilted his head slightly that he could see right through my thinly veiled facade. He chortled again and the branch shook violently. Oh, but you do. He flapped his enormous wings and in an instant landed on a branch only a foot away from the nest. You need my help or you'll end up just like me, he said, leaning in. He was dangerously close now. If he wanted to, he could swallow Brother and I whole. Leave us alone. Mother will be back any minute. I cried at the top of my lungs and threw an elbow into my brother's side. He grumbles and turns away. Why won't he just wake up? The bird adjusts his talons and sits more comfortably on the branch. It bows beneath his weight but doesn't snap. He stretches one massive wing and plucks an errant feather from one of his sparse patches. Listen, kid, I don't have all day. I came here to help you out. Take it or leave it, I don't really give a shit. But I gotta say my piece and then I'll be on my way, and you can go back to crying for your mommy or whatever. He glared at me with palpable impatience, and I think about crying out again, but I swallow my fear and nod silently. Good, he says when he sees I've conceded. He tucks his wings tightly behind him and gazes at me with indifference. Then he speaks again. Our wings are the Creator's greatest gift to us. We're blessed with this gift. She gives us these wings so that one day we may leave the comfort and safety of our nest and embrace the beautiful and painful uncertainty of the world beyond. He repositions himself on the branch and leans in so close I could clearly see my reflection in his cold black eyes. But, he continues, with this gift comes a cost, a responsibility, passed down from generations before us and will continue long after we're gone. It is our destiny to fly. I sat in stunned silence and he continued. The trade-off for this precious gift is that if one does not use his wings, that gift will be taken from him. A bird that does not use his wings is as good as dead. He emphasized that last word so hard I suddenly felt cold. I couldn't help but peer down over the edge of the nest. Although it was well into the morning, an opaque fog veiled the forest floor, rendering it impossible to see the bottom. I'm supposed to go down there? Dead? I choked out. Yup. He sat back on the branch with a smirk. Dead. But I don't know how to fly. I could hear the petulant whine in my voice, and he rolled his eyes at the tone. You must learn. The only way to learn is to do. And if you fail, well, you wouldn't be the first or the last. His eyes shifted slowly to brother sleeping soundly next to me. A pang of fear seized my heart. For a moment I imagined brother crushed in his talons, twisted in his claws. But then he spoke again. Understand this, boy. It's a cruel world out there. Once your time comes to leave this nest, your brother becomes just another bird. Your mother will soon give birth to another clutch and forget about you. Even if years from now you return to this nest, nobody will be home. That's why I said you need my help, or you'll turn out just like me. I made the mistake of believing I could escape my destiny, that I could keep all my fanciful frills of youth. I made the mistake of believing that my time would never run out. Now all I have to show for it is these scars that never seem to heal. He leans in, and I dare look at his weather-worn face. I see the deep gashes, some still glistening with fresh blood. Tributes to battles he'd won and lost. The great bird looks at me intently, and I can't help but stare into his terrifying eyes. One more thing, he says. In this world, you can only trust yourself. Learn to fly, accept your impending fate, or get left behind. And know this for sure. Nobody is coming to save you. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could, the great bird bounded off the branch and with a wild screech disappeared into the cloudless sky. Once the ringing in my ears subsided, everything fell silent around me. The world seemed to spin at a slower pace, and I wished it would stop. I felt a change within me, like I had been transformed. I sat back in the nest, frozen in dread. I wished I could go back to not knowing. I wished I could go back to before I learned the truth. The veil had been ripped from my eyes, and I suddenly saw the world as it truly was. If what the bird had said was true, then my time here was running out. I sat in silence for the rest of the morning, mulling over what the bird had said, his words echoing endlessly in my mind. Nobody's going to save you. Nobody's going to save you. Nobody's going to save you. When my brother finally awoke, I didn't feel annoyed when he tried to peck at my beak to rile me up. I just felt sad. When mother finally returned to the nest, I didn't feel comforted. I felt betrayed. Why did she hide the truth? The full truth. After dinner, mother groomed brother, during which he quickly fell asleep. Mother then turned to me, plucking out deviant tufts and cooing quietly. I couldn't even look at her. The words the bird spoke consumed my mind. I could think of nothing else. Your mother will give birth to another clutch and forget about you. Even if years from now you return to this nest, nobody will be home. Tears burned in my eyes, and at once mother stopped her primping. What's wrong, my sweet? Her gentle concern sent me over the edge. The tears now flowed uncontrollably, and the lump in my throat felt so large I almost couldn't speak. You're going to forget about me, I blubbered. My mother took me immediately into her wings, which only made me cry harder. What are you talking about? She said soothingly. The bird, he said... What bird? She said with concern in her voice, rising slightly. The bird, with the horrible black eyes, and those talons. I shuddered and blabbered on, the words spilling out of me. He said that you would have more children and forget about me. He said I would have to leave this place, leave brother and you, and fly far, far away. He said if I didn't, I'd be dead. When I finally fell silent, mother pulled away and looked at me with a look of horror and concern. After a moment, she pulled me in again even tighter and rocked me gently. Shh, she whispered, and I felt her heart beating wildly in her chest. I could tell she was churning this information over in her mind, finding the words. This only made me feel worse. I wanted a simple answer. I wanted her to laugh and tell me I was just a silly little bird. I wanted her to tell me it was just a bad dream. I wanted her to smooth down my feathers and to finish her preening and sing me off to sleep. But she was silent. and in her silence she spoke the truth. At some point I must have dozed off, because I awoke to the setting sun blaring into my eyes. For a moment I thought it must have all been a dream, a horrible nightmare. I blinked and looked around me, stretching my wings. Then it dawned on me. The nest was empty. Mother and brother were both gone. At once I began screaming. Through my cries I realized the truth. I was utterly alone. I had always been. At once this realization forced my panicked screams into quiet sobs. This was what the bird meant. Alone. I took a deep breath and forced myself to look over the edge of the nest. Fog, dense and thick like churning thunderclouds. The sun was quickly sinking below the horizon. The world darkened around me. The temperature dropped and a steady breeze flew in from the east. A chill coursed through my body. Then something called to me. I don't know how to explain it. The tips of my wings seemed to tingle. I stepped to the edge of the nest and felt that feeling again, that call. I knew it was time to catch the wind.